Hi there, I am Jenny with Roots and Wings Furniture. Today's tutorial is going to be an easy one, and we're actually not even going to pick up a paintbrush. I'm going to show you today how to quickly and easily reupholster chairs. Because if you're refinishing a chair, fabric is usually the first thing that needs to go. These chairs are actually in pretty good shape. We're just going to update the fabric, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So grab your chair, grab a screwdriver and some fun fabric, and let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is turn your chair upside down. Most chairs are all the same. There's going to be 4 screws in each corner. So you're going to need to grab a Phillips head screwdriver or a drill and unscrew the screws in each spot. This will get the chair seat off of the chair frame. Now, let's talk about fabric real quick. You're going to want to think about not only what goes with your space and your colors, but also the kind of fabric that you get. Always look for upholstery fabric if you can, and if it's a little too expensive, a few other things to think about would be a duck cloth. You can usually find those pretty inexpensively, even ones with pattern, or another thing to think about would be an outdoor fabric. I've also used that on chairs, and that's kind of neat because it has some water repellent with it, and it's a thicker fabric. So you just want something that's thicker. You want something that's not going to stretch very much. You want something that you can wipe off in case it gets dirty. The other thing that you need to think about, and the kind of the rule of thumb, is for each chair you're going to do, you're going to need about ½ yard of fabric. So that'll give you an idea of where to start. See how easy that is? Take your chair frame and set it aside, and then this is what you're left with. Now, if the chair was done professionally, you're going to have about 1,000 staples in the base. Surprising but true. Upholstery is crazy with staplers. We're going to add just as many when we put it back together. So now grab some pliers and a screwdriver, or you can muscle it and start pulling apart the upholstery. When I'm working with upholstery, my favorite tools are a small flathead screwdriver like this, as well as needle nose pliers. This is what I use the most. You can get some other fancy tools, but it's really not necessary. So what you're going to do is just start getting the staples out. Alright, since we're doing a chair, I know they come in all kinds of conditions. If your padding isn't in good shape, this one's in fine shape, you can go buy some new padding. It would look just like this, and you'll cut it to the shape of your seat. You can also, if your padding is okay but maybe needs a little extra lift, you can add a layer of batting, and that's easy. You just grab a layer of batting and cut it the same way you would your fabric. So this is in good shape. I'm going to leave it how it was. Next thing we need to do is cut our fabric. Now you can use the fabric you removed as a pattern if it was in good enough shape, or you can just lay your chair cushion on top of the fabric and cut around it. Make sure you give yourself enough room to go all the way around the edge and staple the bottom side. Let me show you how to do that here. If this is your first time, you might not want to get something with stripes. This is kind of an all-over pattern, has some stripes to it, but I'm not super worried about it. Stripes are hard though because they need to be perfectly straight. So get something that's a floral, an all-over pattern, and then it won't be so hard to do. Okay. So I'm gonna lay my piece on here, and then I'm just gonna cut around the edges. Alright, you have 2 options when it comes to staple guns. You can use something like this, which is a handheld staple gun, or you can get some more power and use a pneumatic staple gun. If you are going to do any amount of upholstery more than one chair set, of course, but you know, if you think your mom and your sister and your grandma might want you to do this, I would highly recommend getting one of these. Hooks up to an air compressor. If you already have an air compressor, for sure. These aren't very expensive, and it'll really save your hand. But you can definitely go with this method. You'll just get some good strength in your hand. So what we're gonna do to start, I like to tack my fabric about 2 or 3 staples on each side. So pull it tight across the top. And I'm gonna do just a couple staples there. Get the front side. Now make sure you pull it tight. Not too tight where you're actually pulling fabric, but just tight enough that it makes it nice and taut over the surface. You will notice I did not iron my fabric, and it did have a few wrinkles. You should pull it tight enough that you're pulling out the wrinkles. But I will say, if for some reason your fabric is extra wrinkly, you should probably iron it before you put it on. Okay, so I've got all the sides tacked, and that's just a way in case you're over too far, you don't have enough on one side, you can fix it before you keep going. And then we're just gonna go all the way around, pulling as we go, and leave the corners. So when you get to a corner, I'll show you, we'll get in about as close as we can here and on the back side, and we're just gonna leave this. Okay, so we're just gonna do our straight lines around all of the edges. Here we go. Alright, so you have your corners sticking up like this. And there's 2 different ways you can do this. You can do the way that I'm going to show you, which is like this. We're going to cut off some extra fabric and we're going to pull it down this way so you have a nice fold there on the corner. Can you see that? The other way you can do it is to come in to tack the inside first, like this, and then to fold over the corners this way, a little bit more like a present. I always do it here where I have this kind of ear sticking up. I pinch the edges. I'm going to trim the corner diagonally. Careful you don't trim off too much. Then I flatten it out here, and then I'm going to tack it several times right here, and that's what my corner is going to look like. So here we go. See how easy that is? I got a nice sharp corner there. Works every time. Let's do this side. Now the back of this chair is a little different than most. Most of the time you're going to have 4 corners that look like that. This has a little cutout. So in that case, you know, you might have a funny shape. You're just going to really work with it until you get something that looks nice on this side. So I'm going to kind of pull and tuck the fabric like so till I have my indent so it'll fit around the frame of the chair. It's still pulled tight. Now that you're stapled all the way around, you're just going to lift up whatever edges are left and trim around the edges. So that's all there is to it. You have a nice looking chair seat, brand new fabric, and you didn't even have to paint your chair. If you are going to paint your chair, start painting it upside down and then flip it the right side up and paint it that way. So once your chair is finished, whether you're going to paint it or not, just reattach this with the same 4 screws in the corners that we took off in the first place, and there you have it, a whole new chair.